Minwei Chi Nan. Chapter 177. Dian Bai and Jin Simo P search for masters. The two newly bought stores were on the same prosperous street. One was on the side of Pear Blossom Alley, the other was on the opposite side, but they were not far apart. One could see the other store by standing at the door of one store. Qin Mian had people decorated the two stores at the same time. The drugstore was called Ruyi Pharmacy and the silverware store was called Jewel Pavilion. About 10 days after decoration, the drugstore and the silverware store opened on the same day. The layout of the drugstore was very simple. Into the entrance was the counter and the seats of the two doctors. Behind the counter, 2 medicine cabinets were placed against the wall, and more than 100 small drawers of the same size were filled with different herbs. The name of the herbs was written on the drawers. The medicine cabinet was tall and had a top. When one has to get some of the herbs, one even needed to use a double ladder. In the drugstore, 2 experienced doctors were hired to see the patients, 2 assistants were in charge of the prescription, and then a manager. The layout of the silverware shop was also characterized by simplicity and style. Customers could see all kinds of jewelry behind the counter at a glance as soon as they entered. All jewelry was priced clearly. Besides, Jewel Pavilion also had a type of honorable service. As long as customers could afford the expensive price, the master designer could even design unique jewelry for customers according to their requirements. It was unique not only in the whole capital but also in the whole country. Since LIAN's identity was special, the 2 stores opened quietly, with only 1 round of firecracker each. Even so, there were still a lot of people sending gifts. Even the Emperor, the Empress, and the Empress Dowager sent over gifts. Qin Mian ordered the servants to go and make a list of all the gifts. Except for those sent by the Emperor, the Empress, and the Empress Dowager, all the expensive gifts were sent back to avoid any speculations. Ruyi Pharmacy opened at the beginning of the hour of Chen and closed at the beginning of the hour of Yu, while the Jewel Pavilion opened at the beginning of the hour of C and closed at the beginning of the hour of U as well. Both stores had a day off on the first day of the month and a holiday on the last 3 days of every 2 months. The attentive customers found that the holidays of the 2 stores were the same as those of Dongyang Academy. After opening for more than half a month, the business of the silverware store was quite good because the designs of the jewelry were relatively novel and unique. On the other hand, the business of Ruyi Pharmacy was average. It was unknown whether it was because of the lack of publicity, but most of the customers came in to buy prescriptions instead of seeing a doctor. The 2 doctors were bored and could only read medical books every day. The drugstore manager could hardly retain his composure. He noticed that the situation was not good and quickly reported the matter to Qin Mian. Qin Mian was very calm and told the manager to do his duty well and that no matter whether the business was good or bad, it would not affect his salary. Since the employer was not worried, the manager had to drop the issue. The business of the store was not good. Qin Mian couldn't ignore it. He was just waiting for an opportunity to make his mark at the first shot. The development of a drugstore was different from that of other stores. Mere lip service was not enough to rely on. After the 2 stores operated normally, Qin Mian focused on the transformation of the State Defender Duke estate. After living in leisurely farmhouse for a long time, the standard requirements of the family of 4 for their living environment were high. They were not used to many places in the State Defender Duke estate. Qin Mian devoted 2 days to draw the transformation plan, mainly changing all the trees into fruit trees and replanting flowers and plants in some open spaces. When LIAN came back from the army camp, he rolled up his sleeves and took up a shovel to help Qin Mian. He was not completely unconcerned about the mud on his clothes. The newly bought servants in the household saw it and silently admired the rare scene. Knowing that the 2 masters didn't like them to go on gossiping, they were clever enough to keep silent. Atie, Ruki, and Rulan have a holiday tomorrow. In the afternoon, we'll go to Dongyang Academy to pick them up. Qin Mian held on the fruit tree that had been put into the tree pit. LIAN filled the pit with soil. Fearing that Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan were hungry, Qin Mian managed to find time to make some snacks in the afternoon. At this time, on the public road about a li away from the south gate of the capital, a black shadow and a golden shadow ran side by side toward the capital. The black shadow was as fast as lightning, and the golden shadow was as smooth as a meteor. After seeing what they were, the passers-by on the public road turned pale with fright. They made a hasty retreat to both sides and sat down on the ground with weakened legs. They opened their mouths wide and watched the two dreadful beasts gallop toward the south gate. These two shadows were actually Dian Bai and Jin Simo Pi. For them, their four masters had been away for a long time, so the two made up their minds to travel thousands of li to the capital to find their masters. For other people, they were too threatening. They had been besieged many times along the way. Although both of them had great abilities, they still suffered a lot. Dian Bai's black fur was dirty and tangled out of several knots. Jin Simo Pi suffered no less, its dazzling golden fur was covered with dry mud. Fortunately, neither of them was injured. Thanks to Dian Bai acting as the guide and that the two had intelligence, all the way from Green Mountain Village to the capital, they had not gone the wrong way. After half a month of running, they finally arrived without a hitch. Upon seeing the familiar south gate, Dian Bai uttered an awu to Jin Simo Pi, and the two sped up at the same time. They knew that the soldiers guarding the city gate would be threatened. Thus, when the two entered the city, they swept by like a gust of wind. The soldiers only saw two shadows passing by. After a careful look, they found nothing unusual. Yuan Anshi had a spell of bad luck. Until now, he was still a fifth-rank official. Recently, he was hesitating whether he should go to greet the state defender Duke. LIAN was, after all, his junior. He was still being pulled back by wanting to save face, so he had been hesitant over what to do. He was walking to and fro in his study with a worried face when he heard the noise outside. His face turned glum and he cried out, "What's the noise outside? What sort of scandal needs such an unnecessary racket?" A manservant came in stumbling with a pale face, "Oh old master! W wolf, a bear." "What?" Yuan Anshi frowned and said, "From whose house did they escaped?" No one in the capitals raised speaking of this. He remembered that the LIAN's family had a wolf and he didn't hear that LIAN had brought his wolf to the capital this time. "Come, take me there." The manservant was shocked. "Does the old master doesn't want to live anymore? Why don't you lead the way?" shouted Yuan Anshi anxiously. "Yes, yes." The manservant ran forward in a slip. Shortly, they came to the entrance gate. A wolf and a bear squatted quietly facing the gate of Yuan residence. The 8 servants of the Yuan household had sticks in their hands aimed at the wolf and the bear, but they did not dare to approach them. They only shivered in fear that if they were careless, one of them would be torn to death. As soon as Yuan Anshi saw the white spot between the wolf's eyebrows, he understood. He found that both the wolf and the bear were so tame, so he tentatively stepped forward and said the name of Qin Mian's family, "Are you here to find Qin Mian and LIAN, as well as Yuan and Manman?" Upon seeing Dian Bai's ears perked and head slightly lowered, which was very similar to a nod, Yuan Anshi said in haste, "I'll take you to find them." Dian Bai stood up, took a step forward, and looked back at Yuan Anshi as if it was signaling him to lead the way. Jin Simo Pi also stood up, a simple and naive look. Yuan Anshi bravely walked over and peeked at Dian Bai and the golden bear from the corner of his eyes. They didn't show sign of aggressiveness, so he became even more relaxed as he led the way. At this time, Qin Mian and LIAN were on horseback to Dongyang Academy. When they arrived at Dongyang Academy, they were surprised to see several rows of carriages stopped in front of the academy and many waiting adults came to pick up their children from school. Qin Mian dismounted his horse and looked around casually. Unexpectedly, he found Chen Mufeng shaking a folding fan next to a carriage opposite him and staring at the gate of the academy. Obviously, he was waiting for someone. He poked LIAN's back and pointed his chin to hint at him to look over there quickly. A smile flashed through Lia's eyes and he looked along his wife's line of sight. Chen Mufeng didn't notice that some people were looking at him, he was focused on looking at the front. Is his partner still studying? Qin Mian was extremely curious. Lia said, maybe. At this time, the bell of Dongyang Academy rang. After a while, the students of the academy swarmed to the gate from different directions. Qin Mian and Lia no longer paid attention to Chen Mufeng and kept a close eye on the stream of people. In a moment, Qin Mian saw Qin Rulan and Lei Rulan walking out side by side with their small school bags. Qin Ruki was the silent type and rather had the demeanor of an elder brother. From time to time, he stretched out his little arm to block the flow of people to prevent Rulan from being bumped into. Lei Rulan was also very considerate of his gurgr. He pulled his gurgr aside and let others go first. When the crowd was a little looser, they walked toward the gate. Qin Mian was very pleased to see it clearly. As his sons came near, he raised his voice and called out, Ruki, Rulan. When Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan saw them, their faces expressed surprise, and they ran to that side quickly. It was the first time that their two fathers came to pick them up from school in person. The two boys were very happy. Dai, Lao Dai. Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan, as the only twins in the academy and the only students who have two fathers but no mother, were already celebrities of Dongyang Academy. When they called out Dai and Lao Dai, the students around them immediately looked out of the gate and their eyes fell on Qin Mian and Lia. As soon as they saw the two men's elegant demeanor and temperament, they couldn't say anything bad and even moved to make way for Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan. Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan quickly cupped their hands to express their gratitude and ran to Qin Mian and Lia. The two brothers grinned at the same time, Dai, Lao Dai. N. Qin Mian touched the heads of his two sons and looked behind them as he said with a smile, Are they your friends? Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan turned around and saw several students standing behind them. Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan, these two are your fathers. A 13 to 14 years old boy looked at Qin Mian and Lia curiously. While he spoke, he bowed with his hands cupped toward them politely. End chapter. Minwei Qinan. Chapter 178. Reunion. Exactly. Qin Ruki nodded calmly and introduced them, This is my Dai and this is my Lao Dai. Lei Rulan knew that his gurgr didn't like to talk, so he said, Dai, Lao Dai. This is mine and gurgr's friend Feng Yu, and these are our classmates. From his look, Qin Mian could basically tell which of the 5 students had a better relationship and a general relationship with his sons. Without exception, he smiled back at them and then took off the food box in the saddle and opened the lid. Ruki and Rulan, invite your friends to have a snack. Lia took off the school bags on the back of his two sons and held them in his hands easily. You have a gourmet's luck. My Dai's snacks are very delicious. Lei Rulan took out a bamboo tube from the food box and held it out to Feng Yu and the others. Feng Yu and the others didn't understand. He didn't seem to invite them to drink. Lei Rulan showed some helpless look on his face and reminded them, Wash your hands. Feng Yu and the others understood and inwardly thought that Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan's Dai was very attentive. They stretched out their hands and let Lei Rulan wash their hands. After they washed their hands, they said thanks and took a piece of cake from the plate. Once they took a bite, their eyes brightened. Lei Rulan spoke the truth. The snacks were shared among the 7 children. Except for Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan, the rest of the 5 people had faces of wanting more. After Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan said farewell to their friends, Qin Mian and Lia carried them to their horses. Qin Mian looked back in the direction of Chen Mufeng. When Qin Mian called out to Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan, Chen Mufeng discovered him and Lia. He happened to see a 6-7 years old little boy standing beside Chen Mufeng who didn't look like him. The two men's eyes bumped into each other. Slightly embarrassed, Chen Mufeng smiled at Qin Mian, his right hand uneasily moved away from the little boy's shoulder. Qin Mian's eyes were full of teasing as he raised an eyebrow at Chen Mufeng. Chen Mufeng helplessly shook his hands at Qin Mian and then held the little boy again. Qin Mian and Lei Tie nodded to him and rode away. On the way, Qin Mian suddenly noticed the fluctuation of vital spirit in the distance. He was surprised. His first reaction was, are there any other cultivators in the capital besides them? However, it was impossible. Back then, Ati's master said that he just fell into this realm by accident. There were no other cultivators in this realm except him. Atie. A bit of shock revealed from within Lei Tie's eyes and he also thought of going over quick, go have a look. Just then, a familiar wolf's roar came from the distance. Qin Mian and Lei Tie were shocked again and looked at each other in surprise and bewilderment. Could it be Dian Bai and Jin Simo Pi? Qin Mian cried out involuntarily. Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan's eyes turned round. Lei Rulan anxiously urged, Dad, let's go and have a look. It must be Dian Bai and Jin Simo Pi. Qin Mian had suspected it, too. It was thousands of li from Running Water Town to the capital. Even if Dian Bai and Jin Simo Pi wanted to find them, could they get to the capital smoothly? He picked up Lei Rulan, abandoned his horse and flew away. Atie, I'll have a look first. Lei Tie took out a spindle of broken silver from his inner pocket and handed it to a passerby. Excuse me, send the horses to the State Defender Duke residence. Before the passerby could speak, he saw that the man with cold temperament was flying up as lithe as a swallow. The tip of his toe touched the roof beside the street, and soon he could not be seen. With a bitter face, Yuan Anshi kept Dian Bai and Jin Simo Pi behind him and looked awkwardly at Lu Tian, the commander of the Imperial Guard. Lu Daran, both the wolf and the bear have masters. You see. Lu Tian wore a merciless face as he spoke with stern dutifulness. Yuan Daran, since this officer is responsible for the safety of the capital, this officer ought to be responsible for the people in the capital. Don't make it hard for this officer. Onward, kill them. His subordinates immediately raised their sabers and cautiously surrounded Dian Bai and Jin Simo Pi. Hiding in the distance, the onlookers yelled, kill them. That's right. Such ferocious beast can't be kept alive. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Yuan Anshi went up to Lu Tian and reminded him in a low voice, Lu Daran, they are most likely from the State Defender Duke estate. Lu Tian's eyes flashed a touch of gloom and inexplicable mood. Seamlessly, he passed a meaningful glance to one of his subordinates. That subordinate yelled, so what if it's from the State Defender Duke estate? Will State Defender Duke not pay attention to people's lives? Brothers, onward! Dian Bai opened its mouth and bared its teeth to them angrily. All of a sudden, it turned around and howled at the distant place, AWOO. Jin Simo Pi also turned and looked in the same direction. It excitedly jumped in place and its mouth made a strange puffing sound. The crowd looked over in puzzlement, only to hear a childish voice full of excitement, Dian Bai Jin Simo Pi. Qin Mian floated in the air and landed just between Lu Tian and Dian Bai. Just now, he heard what Lu Tian and his subordinates said clearly. Lei Tie and Qin Ruki were only a step behind. Standing beside Qin Mian, Lei Tie dully glanced at Lu Tian. Lu Tian's movement paused. Qin Mian saluted Lu Tian with cupped hands. Daran overstated. Our family has kept this wolf and this bear for almost 8 years. They have never hurt anyone. Please be rest assured. Greetings, State Defender Duke and Lady of the State Defender Duke. After saluting Qin Mian and Lei Tie, Lu Tian said in embarrassment, this officer naturally believes what Lady of the State Defender Duke said, but wolves and bears are fierce beasts. Them staying in the capital will only cause people to panic. State Defender Duke, don't you see this? He easily incited the people to yell that either kill Dian Bai and Jin Simo Pi or drive them out of the capital. Lei Tie put Qin Ruki down and pressed him on the shoulder. Qin Ruki glanced at Lu Tian and held Lei Rulan's hand. When they looked at each other, they had a tacit understanding. Qin Ruki went to Dianbai and beckoned it. Dianbai immediately squatted down and let him ride on it back. Lei Rulan's eyes turned for about. He pointed to Jin Simo Pi and ordered, "Jin Simo Pi, sit down." Jin Simo Pi naively complied. "Turn a somersault. Stand up. Roll on the ground. Jump. Lie down." Lu Tian, his subordinates, and the common people were stunned to see that Jin Simo Pi did exactly what Lei Rulan said. They stared open-mouthed. Some of the little kids were so amused they clapped their hands and giggled. Lei Rulan climbed on Jin Simo Pi's back, grabbed its fur, and played with it. He smiled sweetly at the onlookers, uncles, and aunts. Jin Simo Pi is very obedient and never hurt people at will. Lei Tie looked directly at Lu Tian. This official came to the capital without bringing them. Obviously, they came to the capital by themselves to find their masters. This official believes they will not hurt people at will. If Lu Daran is not at ease, do go investigate. If they did hurt people, this official will take responsibility. The people watched the two children playing while on Dianbai and Jin Simo Pi and suddenly changed their minds. This wolf and bear are obviously domesticated. They won't hurt people. They must have suffered a lot on the way. They are as loyal as our dogs. It's very touching. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. With a calm face, Lu Tian cupped his hands. "Many thanks for State Defender Duke's consideration. We're going." Since Dianbai and Jin Simo Pi had come, the Qin Mian family could not send them away. Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan intended to make the people less afraid of Dianbai and Jin Simo Pi. They each sat on the beast's back and let Dianbai and Jin Simo Pi carry them. Jin Simo Pi, Lei Rulan lay on golden fur and embraced him. He was greatly distressed at the thought that it and Dianbai had travelled thousands of li to the capital to find them. Although Qin Ruki didn't speak, his right hand caressed Dianbai's back. Qin Mian had long since noticed the difficulties that Dianbai and Jin Simo Pi suffered. His heart ached for them and he was also very moved. He needed Jin Simo Pi's big head. Jin Simo Pi rubbed its big head against him affectionately. Lei Tie was also quite moved in his heart and patted Dianbai on its neck with appreciation. Dianbai brushed his leg with its tail as a greeting. When it arrived in front of Yuan Anshi, it gave a low howl to Qin Mian and Lei Tie. Qin Mian still remembered Yuan Anshi. "Yuan Daran, hope that you had been well? Many thanks for helping Dianbai and Jin Simo Pi." Yuan Anshi said with a smile, "Greetings to the lady of the State Defender Duke. It's only a little effort. In fact, it's due to Dianbai's intelligence that it still remembers the location of this one's home." After that, he turned to Lei Tie. "Greetings, State Defender Duke." "No need to be polite," said Lei Tie. Qin Mian said, "I'll go to Yuan Daran's home another day to express our gratitude formally." Yuan Anshi was happy and hastily said, "There's no need." Qin Mian's family of 4, together with a wolf and a bear, went home unhurriedly, followed by a large group of people. Outside the crowd, a man in his early 30s followed Qin Mian's family, looking as if he was absorbed in thoughts. The man was dressed in a purple kipao robe, full of noble air, followed by 2 attendants. "My lord, is something wrong?" one of the attendants asked cautiously. This lord was the current empress's younger brother, Zhang Sunhe. He was the empress's only younger brother of the same parents and was thus deeply loved by the empress. He was also the emperor's favorite because he was extremely talented in the 4 arts of music, weiqi, calligraphy, and painting. He could be said to be the most popular person in the imperial city. Could such a person be served carelessly? Zhang Sunhe said casually, "It's nothing. I just thought that those 2 men were familiar and I seemed to have met them somewhere." "Go to Dongyang Academy." "Yes." Asterisk asterisk asterisk. When Qin Mian's family of 4 returned to the State Defender Duke estate, the 2 horses had been sent back. Qin Mian ordered the servants to prepare food and hot water for Dianbai and Jin Simo Pi. When Dianbai and Jin Simo Pi had eaten and drank enough, the large quantity of hot water was done. The family of four bathed Dian Bai and Jin Simo P together. Dian Bai and Jin Simo P lay obediently, letting them scrub their bodies. Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan talked to them from time to time, as if they were talking to people normally. Dian Bai and Jin Simo P were either nodding or making a few sounds occasionally. Qin Mian had already sent the others away, but neither was he afraid that anyone would find something unusual. "Dai, we need to prepare a room for Dian Bai and Jin Simo P," said Lei Rulan as he brushed Dian Bai's fur. Qin Mian said, "Don't worry, I've already sent people to prepare." "Rulan, be careful. Don't get your clothes wet." "Dai, is there room in the main courtyard?" asked Qin Ruki. Qin Mian said, "Yes, next door to yours and Rulan's room." Seeing that Qin Ruki's rolled-up sleeves were loosened and wet for the most part, Lei Tie bent down and rolled them up for him again. The family was busy when Steward Fu came over. Reporting to the Lord. "People from the palace has come." Qin Mian and Lei Tie stood up and saw a eunuch standing beside Steward Fu. The junior eunuch came forward and saluted them respectfully. "Greetings to the State Defender Duke and Lady of the State Defender Duke." This servant came to pass on His Majesty's verbal instruction. Lei Tie asked, "What is His Majesty's instruction?" The junior eunuch said, "Tomorrow is the rest day of Dongyang Academy. His Majesty said that the two young masters have not been in the palace to see him for a long time. Also, His Majesty wants to see the two pets of the State Defender Duke estate." Lei Tie nodded as he said, "Report to His Majesty on behalf of this official, we will enter the palace tomorrow to pay respect." "Yes. The servant will take his leave." Qin Mian hinted at Steward Fu with his eyes. Steward Fu understood and gave the eunuch a good reward and sent him away. Qin Ruki asked, "Lao Dai, are Didi and I going to the palace tomorrow to see Uncle Emperor?" "N." Lei Tie asked, "Do you want to see the Emperor again?" Qin Ruki nodded slightly, "The Emperor is still not bad." Qin Mian laughed to himself. The word "still" was subtle. Lei Rulan asked him, "Last time, Uncle Emperor invited us to eat snacks. Gurgr and I also want to give some to Uncle Emperor." "Sure," Qin Mian said, "I'll teach you after washing Dian Bai and Jin Simo P." End chapter. Minwei Qi Nan. Chapter 179. The Death of Du Shi. After the bath, Dian Bai and Jin Simo P knew how to use qi to dry their furs. Looking at their energetic, clean, and refreshing appearances, Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan loved them even more and embraced them. Lei Rulan looked at Qin Mian pleadingly, "Dai, I want to sleep with Jin Simo P at night." Qin Mian nodded, "Sure." After Dian Bai and Jin Simo P had cultivation, lice and other such things couldn't get close to them anymore. It was fine to let the children sleep with them for a night. After dinner, Qin Mian laid a thick rug on the floor of Lei Rulan's room. After the two children had a bath, they jumped on the rug happily and had a tussle with Dian Bai and Jin Simo P. When Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan were younger, most of the time Qin Mian and Lei Tie were too busy to take care of them. It was Dian Bai and Jin Simo P who look after the children. Therefore, Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan's feelings for Dian Bai and Jin Simo P were extraordinary deeper. In Jin Simo P and Dian Bai's hearts, the two little masters were also particularly important. Both of them obediently let Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan embrace and pinch them. When the two children were about to fall because they ran too fast, they would be dragged up back in time. Qin Mian told the two children not to play until late at night and then went back to his room with Lei Tie. Lei Tie had bathed. He was dressed only in his nightclothes, leaning on the head of the bed with a book in his hand. Qin Mian went into the washroom and saw the clean nightclothes on the chair beside the bathtub. He knew who put them there. He gave a small smile. After he took a quick bath, he came to the side of the bed and pounced on the reading man. Lei Tie pecked on his lips, put the book on the cabinet on the bed, and lay down with him. Qin Mian pressed on Lei Tie's body and lightly rubbed his leg with Lei Ties. I'll also go to the palace tomorrow. We don't know what Emperor Ziyawai is up to. I'm not at ease if I don't follow. I'll pick you up when I come back from the court. Lei Tie's hand stroked into his nightclothes. ******. The next day, when Lei Tie came back from the court, Qin Mian, Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan had packed up some snacks for Emperor Ziyawai and put them in a round food box. Dian Bai and Jin Simo P also had dressed up. Dian Bai wore a black and red striped twill vest and a red bow tie around its neck. It looked very proud and elegant. Jin Simo P also wore clothes, which was a sleeveless blue round neck shirt that just perfectly wrapped its huge body. It looked mighty, elegant and unconventional. After Lei Tie changed his clothes, the family of 6 went out together. Qin Mian and Lei Tie rode horses. Lei Tie carried the food box with unknown weight in his hand. Since Dian Bai and Jin Simo P had come to the capital, it was impossible to keep them in the magical space or the State Defender Duke estate all the time. Qin Mian intended to let the people in the capital get used to their existence. Thus, he let Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan ride on Dian Bai and Jin Simo P respectively. It was not surprising that humans could tame wolves and bears. There were animal trainers in the capital, who often performed with all kinds of animals. However, it was strange that 2 horses, 1 wolf and 1 bear could coexist so harmoniously without being specially controlled, and even dressed up like a human. People couldn't help but feel strange. On both sides of the street a large group of people soon gathered around with strange looks on their faces. With a smile on his face, Lei Rulan kept waving to the crowd on both sides. He even hinted at Qin Ruki with his eyes, signaling him to wave. Qin Ruki's eyes flashed a helpless look so similar to Lei Tie. Taking Dian Bai and Jin Simo P into consideration, he waved his hands nonetheless. His appearance of waving hands with that small wooden face not only made people love it but also made them amused. The people looked at the lovely appearance of the 2 little brothers. One was smiling and the other was expressionless and waved back to them happily. Qin Mian's eyes overflowed with smiles. It was not good to cause blockage on the street, so he and Lei Tie raised the whips to let the horses trot up. Dian Bai and Jin Simo P hopped easily and followed after them. At the gate of the palace, 4 palace attendants had been waiting for a long time. As soon as they saw the big wolf and bear from a distance, they inwardly trembled. Upon clearly seeing the 2 children sitting on the back of the wolf and bear, they calmed down. "Greetings, State Defender Duke and Lady of the State Defender. Don't stand on ceremonies." Lei Tie and Qin Mian jumped off the horses and passed the reins to a palace attendant. Another palace attendant said respectfully, "State Defender Duke and Lady of the State Defender, His Majesty is in the Imperial Garden. Please follow this servant." Lei Tie instructed another palace attendant, "You go report to His Majesty first." After saluting, the palace attendant ran away and informed the emperor that Dian Bai and Jin Simo P were not sent in a cage. Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan jumped off Dian Bai and Jin Simo P's backs and landed smoothly. When Qin Mian's family arrived at the Imperial Garden, they were shocked to find that almost every zhang in the garden stood an upright, fully armed Imperial Guard, staring at Dian Bai and Jin Simo P on alert. Dian Bai and Jin Simo P acted as if they didn't notice them. Their gaits were still calm and unhurried. In the spacious quadrangle pavilion, gauze curtains on the eaves fluttered. Emperor Ziyawai, the Empress Dowager, and the Empress were all here. Qin Mian thought to himself that the Empress and the Empress Dowager's skins were much better than when they met last time. It was obvious that they already used the beauty cream he gifted them. Besides them, there was also a young miss in the pavilion of about 16 to 17 years old and looked 6 points similar to Emperor Ziyawai. She had a pair of shrewd eyes. She was holding on to Emperor Ziyawai's arm intimately. At the sight of Dian Bai and Jin Simo P, there was a look of surprise in the young miss's eyes and an expression of itching to do something on her face. This was Princess Duaning, who was 16 years old. She was favored by Emperor Ziyawai because her looks were similar to Emperor Ziyawai. Qin Mian made Dianbai and Jin Simo Pi lie down and went forward with Lei Tie and his two sons to give a salute. Emperor Xiaowai laughed in a clear loud voice, "Rise. Thanking your majesty." Emperor Xiaowai beckoned Yuan and Manman, pretending to be angry. Yuan and Manman, didn't you promise to see Uncle Emperor? What took you so long? Yuan and Manman walked over without fear and each leaned close to him on both sides. Forgive us, Uncle Emperor. My Didi and I have just entered Dongyang Academy. It took some time to adapt, said Qin Ruki. Lei Rulan added with a smile on his face, my Gurgr and I made snacks for Uncle Emperor. Oh? Present it. Did Yuan and Manman make them by yourselves? Emperor Xiaowai put his arms around them. The joy on his face didn't seem to be fake. The Empress Dowager, the Empress, and Princess Duaning had carefully looked at Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan. This was not surprising. The two children themselves were lovable. They weren't afraid to face so many noble people. They had such courageous hearts at a young age that anyone would come to love them more. Just then, a palace attendant took the food box from Lei Tie and presented it to Eunuch Li. Eunuch Li opened the food box. There were 3 layers. Emperor Xiaowai, the Empress Dowager, the Empress, and Princess Duaning all showed a look of wonder. The first layer was a rice bowl-sized cake, with a rich aroma and bright colors, a total of 9 pieces. The second layer was an attractive pizzeria, which was also 9 pieces. The third layer was double-layer steamed milk custard, which was also 9 pieces. The snacks on each layer were quite distinct from each other. The 6 on the left were beautiful, and the 3 on the right were not very good looking. Lei Rulan gave a toothy smile to Emperor Xiaowai in embarrassment. These ugly ones are made by Gurgr and myself. The others are made by Adai. Emperor Xiaowai laughed and patted his small shoulder, it's fine. The ones that Yuan and Manman personally made must be delicious. Eunuch Li swallowed his saliva secretly, but he didn't forget his duty. He was about to try it first, but he was blocked by Emperor Xiaowai. Eunuch Li hurriedly opened the Emperor's special cutlery box and handed him the silver spoon with both hands. Emperor Xiaowai took the spoon, dug a piece of the ugliest cake, tasted it, and nodded, delicious. Qin Mian admired Emperor Xiaowai's courage surprisingly. He didn't worry that they would poison him. Emperor Xiaowai did not act thusly until he thought about it clearly that Qin Mian and Lei Tie would not use their sons even if they wanted to harm him. After eating, Emperor Xiaowai gave each of the small cakes to the Empress Dowager, the Empress, and Princess Duaning. The 3 did not even look hesitant as they tasted the cake. Words of praise were uttered without ceasing. Emperor Xiaowai gave another each to Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan. The few people ate until they were satisfied. Qin Mian and Lei Tie stood by calmly. After eating the cake, Emperor Xiaowai looked at the wolf and the bear which had been lying on the ground and looked very obedient. He asked Qin Mian how long he had kept them, what he usually fed them. Qin Mian was afraid that Emperor Xiaowai would covet Dianbai and Jin Simo Pi, so he answered very carefully. It was not known whether Emperor Xiaowai noticed Qin Mian's worry so that he lamented, for Dianbai and Jin Simo Pi to go find their masters from afar. Their loyalty is commendable, more reliable than some people. Li Fuxiao, pass on Zhen's order, henceforth, send some food to Dianbai and Jin Simo Pi every day. Yes, Your Majesty. Qin Mian didn't know whether Emperor Xiaowai's saying more reliable than some people had another meaning. He and Lei Tie just bowed to express gratitude. Reporting to Your Majesty. Zhang Sun Shisui is here. A palace attendant came from a distance, stepped forward, and informed him. /Note, Shisui is a suffix that indicate that the person is the heir apparent of his household. Qin Mian looked at Lei Tie questioningly. Lei Tie related by mind transmission, Zhang Sun Yun, the father of the Empress, was granted the title of Marquis of Weiyuan by His Majesty. Zhang Sun he is the legitimate son of the Marquis of Weiyuan, the younger brother of the Empress. In a moment, a young man was seen coming with vigorous steps, wearing a jade crown and a purple robe. Zhang Xunhe first greeted Emperor Zaiwei and the others. Emperor Zaiwei was very gentle to Zhang Xunhe and beckoned him to get closer. "Ah he, no need to be ceremonious. What brings you to the palace today?" When the empress saw that her younger brother received the emperor's favor, the corner of her lips was filled with smiling expression and pride. Zhang Xunhe looked at Dianbai and Jin Simopi and said with a smile, "I heard that the state defender duke had brought the beasts into the palace. I was very curious, so I came to have a look." Based on the rank, his rank was lower than that of Lei Tie. After he said that, he saluted to Qin Mian and Lei Tie. Dianbai arched its body slightly and growled in a low voice to Zhang Xunhe. Qin Mian was very surprised. He quickly raised his hand and made a gesture. Dianbai obediently lay down again. Lei Tie promptly said, "Hope Zhang Xunhe do not blame it." Zhang Xunhe made nothing of it. He said with a smile, "State Defender Duke and Lady of the State Defender Duke, we've met before." Qin Mian and Lei Tie looked at each other and failed to understand so. Zhang Xunhe looked at Dianbai and said with a smile, "Back then, if nothing had happened, this wolf should have been mine." Qin Mian suddenly remembered, it turned out that the man back then was Zhang Xunhe. Emperor Zaiwei was curious, so Zhang Xunhe told about the matter of him catching Dianbai by chance back then. Emperor Zaiwei lamented at the wonders of fate. Zhang Xunhe turned his head to look at Lei Tie and said, "State Defender Duke has better hurry back." Lei Tie's expression turned cold. "Young Marquis, please speak bluntly." Zhang Xunhe sat down on the stone bench and said casually, "Before coming, I heard that your stepmother was killed less than half an hour ago after she left the prison." End chapter. Minwei Qi Nan. Chapter 180. Commandery Prince Mu and Zhang Xunhe. Qin Mian was astounded. Du Shi's dead. Who would have attacked a woman of the inner chambers? Your Majesty, this one begs to be allowed to leave. Lei Tie looked at Emperor Zaiwei. Emperor Zaiwei's eyes were gloomy. He was also thinking about who would attack Du Shi. In the eyes of the Emperor, Du Shi was not only a woman of the inner chambers but also the stepmother of the State Defender Duke. He could not help suspecting that there was something else behind Du Shi's murder. He did not doubt Lei Tie. If Lei Tie wanted to harm Du Shi, he would not wait until now. Official Lei shall be excused. Qin Ruki sensibly said, "Ruki and Rulan will come to see Uncle Emperor some other day." Emperor Zaiwei said with a smile, "All right." After Qin Mian's group of 4 asked to take their leave, they left with Dianbai and Jin Simopi. Princess Duaning regretfully watched Dianbai and Jin Simopi go away. Jin Simopi seemed simple and honest and was very cute. She had wanted to be close to it. "Ah he, stay in the palace for lunch today. You haven't been in the palace for a long time, accompany Zhen for a good chat," said Emperor Zaiwei to Zhang Xunhe. Zhang Xunhe naturally agreed, obedience is better than politeness. The Empress Dowager, the Empress, and Princess Duaning saw that the men had something to talk about, so they made excuses to leave. ******. Princess Duaning walked along the cobblestone path with her senior palace maid and 6 junior maids. Her eyes flitted past the colorful flowers. She was in a good mood and her steps were light. Just as she passed by the moon-shaped gate, she saw her eldest imperial sister, Yanqing, standing there with a gloomy face just like a ghost. She got so frightened her heart almost jumped out. "Why are you here alone, eldest imperial sister?" Princess Duaning didn't like this eldest imperial sister but she had to smile at her for the sake of propriety. Princess Yanqing coldly curved the corner of her lips and raised her chin. "Imperial father summoned State Defender Duke's family and actually let you be present. Did they want to marry you to State Defender Duke? Right now, you must have felt satisfied, right?" Princess Duaning laughed. She was annoyed but acted sweetly. She took Princess Yanqing's arm and said, "Eldest imperial sister, do you think this imperial sister doesn't care about reputation like you? This imperial sister is a person of noble birth and has an honorable identity. Whatever kind of husband this princess wants to find, this princess won't lean toward shamelessness and get between married people. Eldest imperial sister, you have treated this imperial sister unjustly. Every word was meant to insult Princess Yanking. After she said that, she even stamped her foot in a grievance. Like master, like servants. The palace maids behind her were not afraid of Princess Yanking. They all lowered their heads and pursed their lips as they snickered. Princess Yanking was so angry that her eyes seemed to be bursting with fire. Duaning, you impudent! Princess Duaning released her arm. She pursed her mouth and blinked her eyes, fanning her long and curly eyelashes. Playful and cute, the sound of her laughter was as clear as a silver bell. Is eldest imperial sister confused? This imperial sister and you are of the same rank. What impudence are you talking about? She looked up at the sky and said, "Oh my, the sun today is really strong. This imperial sister has to go back earlier to avoid sunburn. Eldest imperial sister, this imperial younger sister will leave first." Princess Duaning curtsied and went off with a swagger. After 2 steps, she turned back. Oh, this princess forgot to tell eldest imperial sister. Imperial grandmother and imperial mother have used the beauty cream sent by Lady of the State Defender Duke. The result was remarkable. If eldest imperial sister needs it, this imperial sister can go to imperial grandmother and imperial mother to ask them to spare a jar to give eldest imperial sister. If skin is not maintained properly, it'll be too late. This imperial sister will be on her way. Fury broiled endlessly in Princess Yanking's chest, which then exhausted all of her strength. Princess Yanking could only support herself on the wall weakly. The hatred in her eyes was mixed with strong unwillingness. However, when she thought of Qin Mian's means, she turned pale and could only stamp her foot and fling her sleeve. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. In the quadrangle pavilion, the breeze was gentle and the tea fragrance was faint. "Ah he, who do you think has attacked the State Defender Duke's mother?" asked Emperor Xiaowai. Zhang Sun, he said with a smile, "Isn't brother-in-law aware that I've never cared about these things? Today is just a coincidence." How could Emperor Xiaowai not notice his avoidance? He slightly shook his head and gave a faint smile with a hint of tolerance. Back then, a war broke out between the state of Great Xia and the Western Barbarian. The soldiers of Great Xia suffered heavy casualties. The highly skilled Dr. Zheng Shiyi couldn't bear it and went to the battlefield at the age of 70 to heal the soldiers of Great Xia. He even used strange medicine to save the commanding General Huang, who had only a thread of life left. Dr. Zheng was famous all over the country for his righteousness. He stayed on the battlefield for 3 years and eventually died of overwork. It wasn't long before there was a rumor among the people that Dr. Zheng saved General Huang with a King Gli pill and gave the last King Gli pill to a predestined person before he died. What was the King Gli pill? According to historical records of more than 200 years ago, LIAN, a famous contemporary doctor, used a King Gli pill to save the life of the old emperor whose body was inflicted with a strange poison. In order to thank LIAN, the emperor especially married an imperial princess to LIAN's son. But later on, due to an unknown unfortunate incident, the prescription of the King Gli pill was lost. Over time, more doctors tended to think that the King Gli pill only existed in legends. After all, for a medicine to solve any strange poison was too incredible. However, 8 years ago, Zhang Sun he unexpectedly got a King Gli pill. Zhang Sun he went all the way to find the military doctor who had treated General Huang together with Dr. Zheng and confirmed that the King Gli pill had the miraculous effect of detoxifying hundreds of poisons. Therefore, he presented it to Emperor Xiaowai. It was no wonder that Emperor Xiaowai extremely trusted Zhang Sun he. Back then, the reason why Lei Tie dared to take out the precious King Gli pill was because legend confirmed that there was only one King Gli pill left. If the white-clothed man really knew what a King Gli pill was, he would have heard of this legend and naturally would not insist for Lei Tie, a rural villager, to give him more King Gli pills. Zhang Xunhe and Emperor Zaiwai both only knew today that the current state defender duke was the original owner of the King Gli pill. Emperor Zaiwai thought that since the highly skilled Dr. Zhang was willing to save General Huang with a King Gli pill, it was not surprising that he gave the other King Gli pill to another general. Back then, he was still a bit resentful toward Zhang Shiyi. He was the emperor and had supreme status. Yet, Zhang Shiyi did not present this treasure to him but gave it to some predestined person. Unexpectedly, with fate's twists and turns, the King Gli pill still fell into his hands. Emperor Zaiwai changed the topic. Are you and Mufeng still in trouble? Zhang Xunhe's face first showed a little smile but also showed a bit of exasperation. Yesterday, it was Mufeng who picked up Minzi after school. Nevertheless, Imperial Prince Ming is still unrelenting. You are both people that Zhen cares about. Zhen isn't in the position to take care of your affairs. Emperor Zaiwai shook his head with a helpless expression. Chen Mufeng and Zhang Xunhe, one was the younger generation of the imperial clan and the other was the brother of the empress. Both were Emperor Zaiwai's taboo people, so the two men being together was in line with his intention. Zhang Xunhe already had an offspring, but Mufeng had not. That was why Imperial Prince Ming had refused to accept their relationship and made the condition that unless Chen Mufeng had an offspring, he would not agree for Chen Mufeng and Zhang Xunhe to be together. But Zhang Xunhe disagreed to let Chen Mufeng get involved with women. Therefore, the three were still in a deadlock and it seemed that they would continue to be in a deadlock for a long time. Emperor Zaiwai didn't care about these details. He just wanted to make sure that Chen Mufeng and Zhang Xunhe were no threat to him. Meanwhile, Qin Mian and Lei Tie went back to the State Defender Duke estate directly after leaving the palace. As expected, Steward Fu came to report that Lei Xiangji had come to inform of the funeral. When he learned that their family had entered the palace, he left in a hurry. After Qin Mian's family of four changed into plain clothes, they got on the carriage and went to Lei Xiangji's home. On the way, the couple communicated through their minds. "Tie, what do you think happened?" asked Qin Mian. Generally speaking, Du Shi had only herself to blame. Originally, when the 10 days came, Lei Tie would have her released. But Du Shi had become arrogant. For her 10 days imprisonment, Lei Xiangji spent money on the prison guards. Although the living condition wasn't good, she had good food and drink. This made her think that Lei Tie was not powerful enough to be afraid of. Every day, when she had eaten her fill, she started to curse Lei Tie. She also threatened that when she got out, she would humiliate Lei Tie's family of four. When Lei Tie learned of this, he prolonged Du Shi's imprisonment and forbid Lei Xiangji from helping her. Du Shi then suffered the real prison conditions and realized that it was not good. She begun to behave herself but was killed not long after she was released from prison. If she had not hurled curses and threatened Lei Tie's family, she would have only served the 10 days imprisonment and might have escaped the disaster. Lei Tie said, "It should be aimed at me." Qin Mian nodded, "I feel the same way. The other party's purpose is probably to stir up the trouble between yourself and Wu Lang. The ultimate purpose is to deal with you. But what I can't figure out is, why would they target your relatives? Wu Lang is just a 5th-rank official, not enough to pose a threat against you. I don't care." Lei Tie's eyes were filled with cold light. "However, if someone dares to attack you, Ruki and Rulin, I'll make his life worse than death." Qin Mian narrowed his eyes and said in a heavy tone, "Emperor Zaiwai might know." He always felt that Emperor Zaiwai was playing a big game of chess. At the entrance of Lei Xiangji's residence, white silks had been hung on the gate. The spirit tablet must have been arranged inside and there were faint bursts of crying. Qin Mian's group of four was about to enter when they were stopped by the servant of Lei Xiangji's residence. Qin Mian and Lei Tie did not insist on getting in. Firstly, they were unwilling to worship Du Shi on bent knees. Secondly, since Lei Tie sent Du Shi to prison, almost all the people in the capital knew that State Defender Duke and his stepmother were at odds with each other. If they insisted on going into kowtow, they would make people feel that they were pretending. So why bother? Qin Mian and Lei Tie led the two children to bow 3 times in the direction of the house and be done with it. Qin Ruki and Lei Rulan never enjoyed Du Shi's care and affection. They didn't have the slightest feeling about Du Shi's death and merely didn't like the glaring white silks hanging all over the places. The family got on the carriage and went back to the State Defender Duke establishment. Lei Tie changed his clothes and went out to investigate the murder of Du Shi. At home, Qin Mian cared for the two children's studies and taught them a modern curriculum. That night, when the couple was asleep, the door was suddenly knocked by the servant. Lei Tie got up to open the door. After a moment, he came back with a sealed letter. "What's wrong again?" Qin Mian was speechless. Since arriving in the capital, there had not been any good things. Lei Tie said, "It's from the servant of Wu Lang's residence." Qin Mian's interest perked up and he leaned on Lei Tie's arm to read the letter together with him. The letter was indeed written by Lei Xiongji. The content was very rational. Lei Xiongji believed that Lei Tie didn't have a hand in Du Shi's death and neither did he blame Lei Tie. He admitted that he was partly responsible for Du Shi's death. In the letter, Lei Xiongji also analyzed the purpose of the person behind the scene. Like Qin Mian, he thought that the purpose of the person behind the scene was to create enmity between himself and Lei Tie. Lei Xiongji suggested that the two of them should act as if they had a falling out against each other in the hope that the real murderer would reveal themselves so Du Shi could be avenged accordingly. The letter from Lei Xiongji made Qin Mian feel unusual. He turned over and hugged Lei Tie. "Sleep. Such things have to wait until tomorrow." End chapter.